Dandavat Pranams. This is Vaidehi going live from the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. Today is Monday, March 1st. It is currently 7:35 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here in Santa Cruz, California, which is where the SoCal Seva Ashram is located. So today, or this evening rather, I have the opportunity to share something here with you. Sri Janardhan Maharaj asked if I could help and if I could participate by sharing something here on Mondays at 7:30 p.m. This is the first time in my whole entire life that I have been asked to share here on this platform. So it really feels like a very special opportunity. And I wanted to share that here in Santa Cruz, California, it's a very, I guess, welcoming place for sharing Krishna consciousness and for sharing the Bhakti Yoga tradition, the Vaishnava tradition, and I have had the opportunity to be able to lead kirtan events and various workshops throughout Santa Cruz, California, with various yoga studios and in people's homes and so on and so forth. And I can say I've been actively engaged in doing that for quite some time now. I'd say since I was a teenager, and most recently since I've moved back to the ashram, which is where I am now living. And today I wanted to talk about integrating Krishna consciousness into our everyday lives, into the modern day life. And the reason I chose that topic is because it's the topic that I'm most comfortable with and the topic that I'm most familiar with. Now sometimes when we have the opportunity to share with everybody, especially with devotees, sometimes, you know, there's this expectation of what that might look like from the example of everybody else or from our own idea of what that looks like. And as I reflected a lot on this opportunity, I was very intimidated because I am not like everyone else and my life is a different experience. And then it made me start thinking about this topic and how really each and every one of us is so unique, and we're all in our different stages of life, and we all have our different samskars, our different karma, our different thought patterns and our different traumas and things in life. And so we all experience this world very differently from one another. And not just this world, but also Krishna consciousness. And for some, it's possible to chant every day and engage in puja, and for others, it's not possible because they may be preoccupied with their affairs on the material side. And I want to share a little something about my upbringing and why this topic has become so incredibly important. And something I'd like to share with you, disclaimer, is that I love telling stories. And because I grew up in this ashram under the guidance of Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj, with him as my guardian at every step of the way, a lot of the times the stories I'm sharing are experiences that I have had with him, words that he said to me, and also my own realizations and experiences with growing up and practicing since I was a child. So just giving you that disclaimer that I am a storyteller and those stories will come out and I will not stop them. And as always, I love engaging and interacting with you. So I may ask you to raise your hands and post an emoji in the comments. I may ask you to answer a question so that I can read it. And I may ask you to share some of your thoughts in the description to this video, which is the comment section below. I have my computer here and I'll be watching. So right now I just see that there's a couple of devotees. I see Jose Luis Marquez, Dandavat Pranams. I see Ilya, Dandavat Pranams. I may not recognize everybody's names, but I'll begin to get to know all of you as we go along. And today broadcasting from my humble room, but in the future I will also be broadcasting from the temple room and also singing and doing some kirtan. Okay, so here is why this topic is so important for myself and why I think it's an important topic to be speaking about. So, having grown up on this beautiful land which is known as Gupta Govardhan, which has been graced by the lotus feet of not only Srila Bhaktisundar Govindadev Goswami Maharaj, but so many other sannyasis and devotees and saintly personalities, and what to speak of Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari, who are here in the temple room. So this land is very mystical. It is not an ordinary piece of land, okay? And this has always been my concept since I was a child. This is a very sacred jewel. It is an embassy of the spiritual world, and this means that all the living beings on this land are not ordinary living beings, from the birds to the crickets to the trees. And as a child, I would spend a lot of time walking in the hills and contemplating this and reading the Bhagavad Gita and also writing letters to Srila Govinda Maharaj, whether they were drawings or scribbles. And on one of many occasions that I wrote him a letter, I remembered I would, tell him stories and share experiences and ask him questions. And one time I asked him what I could do to be in service. Mind you, I was probably 14 or 15. And the answer that came back was to balance your material and your spiritual life diligently. And those were his words. And literally anything he ever said to me, I meditate on it. To this day, I meditate on everything he has ever said to me. And these words, to balance your material and your spiritual life diligently. Now, while he may have said that because of my own, samskar or karma or inclinations, I nevertheless found it to be an important message for all of us who are practicing Krishna consciousness, because the foundational understanding that I have about this concept, and this is my understanding, is that this birth, this life that we have, is very, very, very precious and very special, because we have come in contact with such a magnanimous thing. Wow, what we have come in contact with is so rare to come in contact with, and so rare to achieve. And the personalities, the saintly personalities that are still on this planet today, and that we have come to know, for those of us that have gotten to meet these special, saintly personalities, is very, very rare. And so, having grown up in the Krishna conscious movement, I feel like this life is very special and should not be taken lightly, and this material existence should not be really shunned, but rather relished. And I don't mean in a mundane way, but in the way that, as we've heard, every wave of the environment is favorable, right? So this ideal that we have of seeing that every wave is favorable and that not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord is very much a real thing. And so I really wanted to first state that. And one of my favorite lines from that song, right, Bhaja Hure Mana, is Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala. This life is tottering like a drop of water on the leaf of a lotus. And I've caught myself thinking, wow, this moment right here, this present moment, which is really what we have. And I want to invite everybody that's here watching, and I'm seeing some new devotees coming. I see Rajeshwari, I see Krishna Kanti. This moment right here, whoa, we can actually in this moment think about Krishna. We can think about Gurudev, we can think about Mahaprabhu. And that is miraculous, and it makes me want to cry, because this life is tottering like a drop of water on the leaf of a lotus, and the fact that we can in this moment turn our minds to Krishna or to Gurudev is in itself an extremely special thing, and I think it's noteworthy. So for all of you that are sitting down wherever you are, in your homes, in your temple rooms, in your Nat Mandirs, wherever you are in the world, I'd like to just invite you to take a moment of silence to really sit with that, and to, in this moment, absorb your mind in perhaps a beautiful mantra or invocation, or perhaps an image that you have of the deities, or a memory that you have of Gurudev, or something that a devotee shared with you that was just so incredibly special to you, that you felt was a watering of the Bhakti Lata Bij, right, of the seed of devotion. So take a moment to just smaranam, to just sit in that remembrance and in that meditation, and to hold that moment special for yourself. And I'm going to do the same. I told you I'm interactive, so we will have little moments like this. And for those of you that are meditating on this, and if you feel inspired to share, I would like to invite you to write this memory or this quote in the comments section below this video. And I'm just going to wait till I see just a couple more comments, but I really would love to invite you to share, you know, what memory came to mind and what did you absorb your mind in that moment. You have that free will to either get distracted and think about something else, or to smaranam, to remember something transcendental. What came to mind for you? I'd love to see some comments, so please share in the comment section below this video, and I'm going to give you a couple of moments to share, and we're not going to move along until we see just a couple little comments so that we can share. And this is important, because at every moment we have the option to be entrapped in rage or anger or frustration, or, you know, whatever it is that gets you, or we have the option to shift that and to absorb our mind in something that helps us to uplift our consciousness. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page and see if there are any comments, and hopefully you have shared something. I'd love to see what came to your mind and your memory when we did this little moment of just remembering something that has touched our hearts and our minds. I'll share that I remember Gurudev looking at me, and in the same theme, it's always been a reoccurring theme, and he said, "You must build your foundation upon which you can dance." So that's my memory that I came to, receiving that instruction. Again, the same theme of how to balance my material and my spiritual life diligently. So perhaps you are not used to this style of sharing and typing something in the comments section. And if you're not used to it and not feeling it for this time, I do encourage you to muster up maybe the comfort, the courage, the inspiration, if you will, and share with us a little bit of something. What is a memory or a quote or something that's very important for you to remember, that can bring you out of misery in your everyday life? And so if you didn't do it, at least hopefully you've thought of something. And the reason I asked for this exercise is because sometimes that is how easy it can be in this current state of luxury and abundance that we have of this life, to turn our mind instead to something that can transcendentalize our experience and our current state of being. And as I was thinking about what I wanted to share tonight, and this concept of integrating spiritual life into our material life, came to be, I thought about this idea of the power of intention, which brings us back to this theme of our ability to transform the moment by absorbing our minds in a spiritual practice. And we know the spiritual, the 9 processes of bhakti, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Para, Sevanam, Smaranam, Vandanam, Pujalam, all of these different practices, right? Remembering, hearing, chanting, chanting and speaking the glories of, offering respects, worshiping and as a friend, lotus feet, and all of these different 9 processes. And they're very, very beautiful because they allow us to carry this mood or this vibration of bhakti everywhere that we go. And nowadays in our modern spiritual world, we have this alternative consciousness, right? So many people that are awakening to spiritual life and the different spiritual concepts. And it's kind of like a new age, right? A new age community. Perhaps you could say the age of Aquarius. To me, it's just in alignment with the prophecies, right, of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur about how in every corner of the world this holy name would be chanted. And how many of you see this, right, more often in yoga studios, maybe on Pandora when you're listening to music, or Spotify, you hear more spiritual chants. And if you're online and on Facebook, you see that people are speaking about bhakti and demigods, and there's this up-leveling of consciousness that's happening. And in this new age community, there is something that's called, intention, and everyone's all about it. We're going to set an intention. Let's set an intention before we begin. What is your intention for coming to this gathering? And, they invite each other to speak their intentions and to share their intention. And I have found that to be such a powerful way to actually practice this idea of balancing my material and my spiritual life. And I found the Krishna conscious parallel to that. And that is the invocation, right? Before we begin a class or a reading or chanting, or in some cases, I've seen so many devotees who are about to go on a trip, they will chant an invocation or a prayer, either our guru's Pranam Mantra or the Panchatattva Mantra. Even before we eat our meal, we are chanting the Mahaprasade Govinde. So for us in the Bhakti Yoga, tradition and Krishna consciousness, we have these beautiful invocations and pranam mantras that can completely shift our mind from whatever direction it wants to go in and into that spiritual track. And so this is what I wanted to really speak about tonight, is this power of intention and our Krishna conscious equivalent, which are our pranam mantras. And I'd love to share from my personal life, right? I may be working, or I may be going out and meeting people or traveling, or I may be going out to dinner with friends, but my friends will always see that before I eat, I will chant something, right? And they will ask, and I will share that I chanted this mantra about offering this food, and I'll share about what prasad is. And when I first wake up, I like to, of course, set positive intentions for the day, but I will begin by chanting Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Chakshudun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, as well as, my Gurudev's Pranam Mantra, followed by the Panchatattva and then the Maha Mantra. And if you don't live in a temple, and if you are busy, and if you are running around working and living your material life, I'd like to invite you to try this every morning before you wake up, right? Fully awake, before you're even fully awake, while you're still maybe sleeping or in your bed. to try to begin your morning like this and see what a different day you will have, what a different mood you will have. So a Pranam mantra that you can chant in the morning, your Gurudev's Pranam mantra, the Panchatattva mantra, and I like to blend in, right, gratitude, right, this practice of what am I grateful for and what am I very aware of as a blessing in my life. And that is how I like to begin my day. And it's very simple. And it can be as simple as that. And sometimes we have this idea that Krishna consciousness has to look a certain way, or it's conducted when we're inside a building or wearing this costume or this outfit or whatever it is, and that is all part of our spiritual culture. But it's really much deeper than that. And it does come down to your intention and your seed that you are planting at every moment. As we've heard, right, at every moment, the mind, right, the mind, which is the mode of passion, right, is seeking and desiring and planting seeds and creating our next body, our next experience. We are literally manifesting at every moment. And so how can we be aware of that as Krishna conscious individuals and understand how we can adapt and how we can bring Krishna consciousness into our every moment? And so that's something that I like to do every day that I want to share with you, that I think is a powerful way to integrate our spiritual life. And it's really quite backwards because our spiritual life is the root. It is the foundation. And so it's a bit preposterous to think that, oh, I'm integrating spiritual life into my material life, when it's actually the opposite. But what starts to happen is that the material life takes over, the material consciousness takes over, our material duties and desires and obligations and to-do lists take over. But the magic is in the balance, right? Like Gurudev said, balance your material, like Govinda Maharaj said, balance your material and your spiritual life diligently. So for those of you that have been watching from the beginning and are following the stream of what I'm saying, I really love this concept of visualization and, mind's eye, right? We talk about Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyan Agyana Shalakaya. We're talking about applying this soothing salve of Sambandha Gyan, right? Proper acquaintance with our environment. And the Bhagavad Gita speaks about, being in our identity, in our nature, not mimicking another's duty or another's nature, right? But being in our own. So the more you get to understand yourself, and the more that you, not in a egoistic or self-absorbed kind of way, but when you can sincerely apply this thinking and think, okay, like what is realistic for me in my spiritual life? I would rather at least do some chanting than none. I'd rather have some invocation than none. I'd rather at least offer one meal than no meal. So this is the question, right? What can we do every day to create that balance and to create that adjustment? So the power of intention, right? Invocation, invoking our Guru Varga with those Pranam Mantras. And if you do not know the Pranam Mantras just yet, how can you start to memorize them? And, I, in my profession, my career in this moment, because I have a lot of different things that I like to do, I am a coach. So, it's now that I'm a lot of people that I've been working with are wanting more spiritual coaching from me because of my foundation in Krishna consciousness. And they've found that to be the most powerful thing that I can give to them. And I feel the same way too. And so as a coach, I've learned so many techniques for, improving my day, improving my workflows, for really staying on top of what I'm doing and learning how to mentor and coach people. And one of the things that I love to do is to put sticky notes or to take flashcards and write quotes on them. So I'd like to invite you, take a flashcard and write your favorite Pranam Mantra or invocation on there and put it somewhere where you can see it. And begin to practice this every day, really understanding what the words are and really meditating on it. And, you know, if we were to even go deeper into this topic and why I'm talking about this topic, it's because where it's at is in the sound vibration. It's in the Krishna Katha and in the Gauda Katha and in the Harinam Sankirtan. And sometimes we may not have the opportunity to be engaged in Harinam Sankirtan congregationally. Luckily, we have this platform, but you also have self to take care of. And when you can make it a part of your habit to attune your mind to the recitation of even just one verse, or attune your mind to the expression of gratitude for the Guru Varga, right? Gratitude for the food that is before you and offering it up. These principles of gratitude and invocation and setting intention can really be a very simple foundation to how we can have Krishna consciousness be with us at every step of the way, right? And I remember one of my friends in Los Angeles, an ISKCON devotee, he's a music producer. And he was helping me step into making music, and which I now do, and I haven't really shared it so much just yet. But, you know, I'm basically sharing some of the verses from our songbooks and making them, the intention is to make them more accessible and to plant this seed of this transcendental sound vibration on a wider scale, because we have the most beautiful knowledge to share. And I was feeling a little bit doubtful about what I was doing and whether what I was doing was actually spiritual, whether it was actually a seva, because I couldn't believe, like, wow, is my seva really to like sing and dance and to be on a stage? And I was feeling a bit guilty and concerned that maybe I wasn't in alignment. And this friend said to me, you take Krishna with you everywhere you go. And I was like in one ear out the other, and then it landed, and then I continued to meditate on that. And then I took that phrase and that concept with me everywhere I went. And now at every opportunity that I've had to be amongst a group of people, or to be on stage at a festival dancing, which I also do, or to be teaching workshops at a festival, or traveling abroad to some fruit festival or some, you know, whatever hippie festival, alternative transformational festival, I remember that. And I take Krishna with me, not that I have any capacity, but okay, let's talk about Gurudev. I take Gurudev with me everywhere I go. And here's the other thing I wanted to talk, oh, okay, let me finish that thought, because it's transcendental sound vibration, right? Our Guru Varga is present in Vani, in the sound form. Bilasatu hriddi nityam bhakti siddhanta vani, right? This idea, bilasatu hriddi nityam, hriddi, heart, nityam, eternally, bhakti siddhanta vani. May this bhakti siddhanta vani, right? This transcendental sound vibration, sound form, this bhakti siddhanta in the form of sound, sing eternally within your heart. And it's not just always gonna like blast from your heart by itself, like you got some kind of like transcendental party going on in there. You have to cultivate that party. You have to make that environment fertile and green. And how do we do that? Habit. How do you keep a plant green and fertile? You water it every day, okay? So same thing, that Bhakti Lata Beach, we've all gotten the seed. I know who's watching. I see all of you. Okay, I see, why, Steve, why am I forgetting your spiritual name right now? Anyway, I know who you are. Hello, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much. I see Madhumati. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. You know, all of you have the Bhakti Lata Bij in your heart, and it needs watering every day, right? So it really comes down to transcendental sound vibration. And we know that there is this eternal battle between the light and the dark, okay? And the dark is constantly battling the light. And we see that, okay? we see that. It's so evident. It's so clear. And I heard Srila Janardhan Maharaj speaking the other day, and I thought this was, whoa, what a topic. Speaking about how the Akash, and it like rung a bell because I hear all these, New Age people talking about the Akashic records and the Akashic records. And I'm like, okay, some hippie thing. But then I remember Ramai saying, Ramai Prabhu, Ramai Pujari, Archaniketan, the personification here of puja that we had in this ashram, he would say, Akash Pushpa, like bull flowers, or like air flowers or whatever. So, and so Srila Janardhan Maharaj was talking about how the Akashic field, right, the ethereal field is getting filled with, and we know about that article, right, the descent of the holy name. I wanted to read it. My computer's a mess. I couldn't find it next time. I love that article because it's so real how you say something negative, the lies that are being told on the planet, right? All of the things that come out of people's mouths and minds, right? The stench of materialism is really taking form and happening on the etheric field, in the sound plane, right? In the plane of sound. Okay, so how do we shift that? We can't really shift that by like sitting in our own dirty bath water and thinking that's why there's COVID, that's why there's so much disease, because we're literally in this like environment of negativity and disease and materialism. And this is so real. It's not to be pessimistic, but it is happening, and there's nowhere for the disease to go. So it's bubbling up in the form of cancers and COVID and all the things, because the environment is so dirty. It is so dirty, okay? And the more of us that are absorbing our minds, our thoughts in transcendental sound vibration, the more we are being true citizens of this Bhumi Lok, right? This plane, this earth plane. We're really being in service because we are cultivating that transcendental sound vibration. And it doesn't matter whether it's in our minds or a thought or even a half pseudo-spiritual concept. The practice of bringing our minds to that will make that groove stronger, will make that tendency stronger. And guess what happens when that groove is more defined? It widens. And guess what happens when that groove widens? Your capacity widens. And guess what happens when your capacity widens? You can receive more revelations. You can receive more, what do I call this? It's like transcendental sound heart transmission vision. If you know what I'm saying, those of you that know, you know, right? You're able to tune into that stream just a little bit more powerfully. And now that stream is what's guiding your life. It's what's driving your life. It's what's creating synchronicities, right? In the New Age plane. And I bring this up a lot because that's the plane that I work in. That's where I serve and where I work and where I speak often. In this plane of synchronicity, that's the plane of surrender, of transcendental sound vibration, of faith, of sukriti. We're no longer being guided by the senses or the lower tendencies or the laws of this world. We're kind of experiencing these miraculous synchronicities, and that is attracted by our submission to transcendental sound vibration, which I love. I absolutely love. That is my favorite. This is all that I have. I don't have anything else but that, these ideas, right? And that transcendental sound vibration and cultivating it in our mind, in our memory, in our practice, in our actual hand gestures, and our little practices from waking up to offering our food. Don't take them as light or mediocre or trivial. They are what keep us afloat. I know Shravanam Kirtanam is described as what keeps us rowing forward. But how can we include all those other little pieces in our day-to-day life? without overexerting yourself so that you resent it or don't resent it, or so that you're, don't neglect your duties, don't neglect your children, don't neglect your parents, don't neglect your job, right? But how can you integrate it? How can you bring Krishna consciousness into your job, into your family life, into your work, into your mundane affairs? Because guess what? When you do that, they're no longer mundane affairs. And sure, we have a long way to go as practitioners to really, be able to say that. But just like, right, the dawning of the sun, like the sun is rising, the fact that it's there, right, the fact that the light, you can see the light, means that it's already there, right? Analogy for the holy name, right? But really it is true. Just those little practices are an indication of the presence of the light. And it's only a matter of time before the full sunrise is there. And now you're living in that plane. With whatever capital you have, right? Like Gurudev would always say, you have $5, give $5. You got $10, give $10. You got $2, give $2, right? So give from where you can. Give from what feels natural to you. And so this concept of integrating our spiritual life, and really, scratch that title, I should work on a title. It's like, how can we alchemize our material life into its true position as a spiritual life by associating with transcendental sound vibration? And there are so many beautiful examples in our communities, in our Shastra, and even in the examples of some world leaders, right, who are dedicated to what they're passionate about or the causes that they stand up for. So what is it about spiritual life that really touches and inspires you? And run with that. Because that's really what it's about. And I remember one time Gurudev saying to me, where you are happy, that is what I'm searching for. And I just said that to me one time. And I was having, kind of a challenging time. I was living in Kolkata, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can't breathe. I was having a very hard time, and I was starting to feel like, oh my gosh, do I really need to be here? This is getting just so difficult. And I was thinking, oh man, I kind of want to go back to America and finish my school. And I was like, oh no, my material desires are starting to grow. And then I was like, no, material desires are not good. I shouldn't want to sing and go to school and have money. I was so neglecting my natural inclinations and my natural gifts and blessings, right? All my natural stuff, because I thought spiritual life looked like being in India, wearing a raggedy sari, and whatever my concepts were at that time. And I just walked in one morning and he said that. And another thing, that's another thing I've meditated on for years whenever, I try to remember these things very, very often. And they are what I have to live off of. Words to live by, right? This is what I live off of, is those words that Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya, right? These transcendental words that Gurudev spoke to me. And of course, we have all these lectures, and he spoke to all of us and to each of you individually, those of you that got to speak to him. And those of you that are receiving those maybe inspirations in your heart, in your meditation, right? Or when Gurudev reveals himself through a devotee, right? Those words are to be treasured and kept. And they're meant to be filtered through your system every day. And so waking up in the morning and setting those intentions, chanting those invocations, stating your gratitude, right? Anything you eat, chant the Mahaprasade Govinde. Okay, if you don't know it, go find it, memorize it, understand what the words mean. And I do it as simple as, I'm at a fancy restaurant with friends, or I'm in a group dinner with friends, or I'm at a potluck with friends. And I'm like, please accept this food, Gurudev, Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari. And please accept this food and make it prasadam. Make it prasadam. Simple words that are not very eloquent. Please make it prasadam. And I offer my food, right? I offer it up, and then I chant Mahaprasadi Govinda really fast, and people may be talking to me, and I'm like, it happens all the time. And, you know, for some, I'll share what I'm doing. And so that's that. And then with our, you know, with our japa mala, I mean, I bet you, everyone watching here, and if you if you can relate, you can raise your hand in the form of an emoji. How many of you notice a difference, right, between chanting your japa and not chanting your japa? Like, how do your days go by when you chant your japa, and how do your days go by when you don't chant your japa, right? And there are days that I don't chant my japa, right? And we all have maybe those days, maybe. Maybe. And it makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. And so sometimes I'll chant Dandavat, Sudha Krishna. There we go. See, it just came. Sudha Krishna, Dandavat. I'm seeing the comments. Have a good night. Please rest. Yes, please rest. Dream of Gurudev. So what was I saying? I was saying, anyway. Yeah, chanting your japa. You know, sometimes I can only chant one in the morning, and then I'll go on a walk and chant two more, right? So how can you make it so that you're keeping your spiritual hygiene? And I say spiritual hygiene because we are living in an environment where it's not really a choice or an option, but it's a necessity. It's really a necessity. So many vibrations, so much fear-mongering, so much to be concerned about, to worry about, to be freaked out about. There's fear at every step. But when we can take shelter of Shabda Brahman, of transcendental sound vibration, Krishna Kata, Gaura Kata, the holy name, these Pranam Mantras that we have, we can at least create some level of protection, right, from being trapped or magnetized to a vibration that's not going to really help us evolve. And so I want to just pause for a moment because I want to share just a couple of quotes that I thought were so nice. And these quotes I'm reading from GaudiyaDarshan.com. I'm reading from the features page, and I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the link so that you can access it and read it in your own time. And for those of you that maybe do not have a kirtan guide, a physical copy of the book, I'm also going to copy and paste right now a link to our kirtan guide so that you can find some of those Pranam Mantras that you might want to memorize or have near your bed or near your mirror so that you can see them every day. And I'm going to paste that link there so that you can start copying some of those down and writing some of those down and reciting them every day. And sometimes on days where I don't feel good, I'll chant the Nishringadev prayer, the Nishringadev mantra, when I'm like, oh my gosh, the energy is thick today. Okay. So I thought this was very nice. This quote, the first quote at the top of that Gaudiya Darshan page, because it's this understanding, right, that we're always, in everything we do, if we can always turn to our divine guardians and turn to the transcendental sound vibration, we'll be protected, even if we don't really know what we're doing and we have no power of invocation, right? It is in itself powerful. And I'll tell you, before I go live on my own channels, before I talk to a client, before I do a campaign in my business, you know, it's scary and I get nervous and I get doubtful sometimes, and I'll just bow my head and offer it to my Gurudev. Because everything I'm doing is for him, right? If we can remember that we have this like sacred torch and this very sacred light, and it's actually just our duty to keep it lit by chanting and remembering and Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vada, Sevanam, Smaranam, all those. They're in that song, the Bajahure Mana. Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Vada Sevana Dasyade Pujana Sakijana Yatmani Vedanam Govinda Dasavila Sade. Right, so memorizing those and trying to engage in those in our own way from home, from wherever we are. So we have this light, we keep it lit, keep it lit by remembering, and then it's our duty to just share that with others, even if it's a gesture of kindness or a quote that you remember from the Shastra that you share with a friend who may or may not be Krishna conscious, right? It's our duty to share. Okay, but anyway, this quote, from Srila Govinda, it says Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. It's an ongoing series of quotations from our acharyas, and I will just read a couple of them. The chatak bird will not be satisfied with water found anywhere on this earth, but only a few drops of water from the blue cloud in the sky will satisfy him. There is so much water in the pond, in the river, the ocean. He won't take one drop of it. That is the nature of the chatak. The blue cloud may punish him with a thunderbolt, but he never stops singing the glories of the cloud. This is chastity. This is surrender. Okay, here's another one. I'm not reading all of them. A nice way to kind of close. Diksha. Initiation means we offer our devotion, and that is called dedication. I want to throw myself in the plane of dedication. And in that throwing, nothing will be lost. If I throw one apple from here to there, the apple will get some loss from the hitting. But throwing to the lotus feet of Krishna, it is getting much energy and life. Just the opposite. That is the divine plane. And this is what I'm saying, is that all of our activities that we're doing every day and that we're so busy with, working on the computer, eating food really quick, going on a run, whatever it is, wherever you work, whatever you do for a living, your family life, it keeps us busy all day, right? But this life is tottering like a drop of water on the leaf of a lotus, right? How can you maximize this existence? By continuing to offer yourself to transcendental sound vibration. Continue to offer yourself to Harinam Sankirtan, right? Bhakti Siddhantavani. And I feel like that is one of the simplest, most powerful things we can do, because all it requires is literally a little smaranam, right? Like a little thought, a little thinking, right? A little prayer. And that will snowball and continue to propel you more and more into that feeling of being charged, really. Like the apple here is getting some loss from the hitting. That's us in the material world. We're like, oh, I lost some money. Oh, I made some money. Oh, I lost a car, right? Like we're losing something. Something is always being expended in the material world. But it's the opposite when we submit ourselves to that transcendental sound vibration. Again, and it's as simple as a thought in the morning, right? Obviously continues to grow. Our practicing life grows and expands, but it begins with very simple, steady, consistent, and then from there adding more into your day. And we are getting something from it, right? And you may not realize it. In my program, I just started this course called Soul Purpose Foundations, and I bring in a little bit of that Bhakti Yoga wisdom into that course. And I remember saying in one of the welcome videos, This is not a result-oriented course. And sometimes the practices I may share with you are very simple. And you may not feel like you're doing anything. But over time, you will see the evolution of your consciousness. And there are people in these programs that have experienced the evolution of consciousness, right? And so Krishna consciousness is the most evolved program to be in, right? It's the most elevated form of knowledge and conception. But you may not see a change right away. But over time, with that consistent effort, you will see that. And like the Chatak bird, who's only taking from the cloud and glorifying the cloud, right? Not taking from anywhere else, over time, you too will not be able to take from anywhere else, right? And it's not about like rejecting your senses and shaming and shunning and all the materialism and fighting with Maya, but rather it's a state of surrender. And that surrender comes through the practice of absorbing your mind in meditation, absorbing your mind in remembering, in chanting, your mouth in chanting. And naturally, the desire for other things begins to go away, to dissolve. And we find that we're living a slightly more transcendentalized life or experience. We no longer wake up in a rush, shunning the day. And that's why I'm speaking from experience, waking up dreading the day. And then I'm like, oh yeah, all my hippie stuff, then all those hippie things I hear about setting intentions and gratitude every day. Duh! Like our Pranam Mantras are the highest form of intention and invocation and gratitude. And the offering of our food, what a extension of gratitude, right? To offer something to the divine. Oh my gosh, thank you for, we know Krishna is providing everything, Guru Gauranga, but we still offer ourselves, right? Bina tulasi prabhu ekanahi mani, right? Like without devotion, right? Prabhu will not give mind. So cultivating a little bit of that devotion, right? Coming from your heart, that offering coming from your heart that you want to do because you feel that. And even something you don't want to, and it'll save you. Okay, let's see. Here's another quote I wanted to share with you from this link that I have posted in the comments section. And that is, real compassion is to draw the conditioned souls away from their perverse attachment with the material nature. If even one soul can be rescued from the fortress of Mahamaya, then this is infinitely more compassionate than constructing countless hospitals. By Srila Govinda Maharaj. By Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. That quote I just read. Okay, here is another one. By Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj. And again, on that link that I posted in the comment section, Tad Eva Sankirtana means when a group of devotees gather together for kirtan, what comes from their melted hearts, that is Sankirtan. Sankirtan is congregational chanting with the mood of tolerance, humility, and giving honor to others. Beautiful quote, isn't it? And, I remember Gurudev saying, Govinda Maharaj in Navadvip, we were in his veranda, and this saved my life, because, we've heard Trinada pi suni chena tarore vasahi snuna amani namanadena kirtaniya sadahari, one who's humbler than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, and who gives due honor to others without desiring it for himself, he is qualified to chant the holy names of Krishna, right? To engage in Harinam Sankirtan. And the way he described humility, tolerance, and respect, and I really wish we could find this recording, but this is what I remember. He said, humility means to not let your own mind be disturbed. Tolerance means not to disturb or not. Oh, wait, no. Humility means not to disturb other people's minds, right? Do not go disturbing other people's minds. Tolerance means to not be disturbed by the minds of others. And giving honor to others means giving honor to their service vision and encouraging their service vision. And that's what I remember from what he had said. I really wish I could find that lecture and find that clip, because it's my favorite explanation of humility, tolerance, and giving honor to others. Not to let your own mind be disturbed, not to disturb other people's minds, and to give honor to their service vision, to honor them in that way, right? And I like this last quote we just read, that Sankirtan is when a group of devotees get together for kirtan, what comes from their melted hearts, that is Sankirtan. So allowing yourself to sing from your heart. Doesn't matter what you sound like, doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Women, please sing more. Please sing in your temples. Please sing in your houses. Please sing everywhere you go. Men, everyone, sing with your heart. Sing from your heart. Okay, one more quote. Let's see. Okay. Okay, there we are. Okay, so Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This quote, I think, is a nice one to end with. Okay. Enthusiasm is the life of faith. Without enthusiasm, faith does not act at all. Many people think that they have faith in the Lord, but because they do not have enthusiasm, their faith does not act. Thus, because of a lack of sadhu sangha, they do not engage in the Lord's service. So, how does that enthusiasm come, right? I find, honestly, I've felt very much by myself or alone, and when I feel like that, I find that enthusiasm comes from singing, from Harinam Sankirtan, from singing the songs, from reading the words, from meditating on the descriptions. And that's why, again, I've posted the link to the Kirtan guide in the comments section. Please download it, have it on your computer, have it on your phone. Whenever you have free time, day and night, whatever it is, look and read some of the songs, sing some of the songs. I find that keeps my enthusiasm. And obviously being surrounded by devotees, or even a devotee who is interested in also chanting and Krishna Katha, like Srila Janardhan Maharaj here, keeping the candle of Krishna Katha always lit. So nice. He's always just, that Zoom is getting so much Sukriti. Would you agree? That Facebook and Zoom. The creators of Facebook and Zoom getting some indirect Sukriti from all the Zoom lessons of all of our acharyas all over the world. And so with that, we will end tonight our conversation, our sharing, and we all have something to give. We all have something to share. We all have something in our heart. And I would love to encourage you all to stay tuned, as always, for the daily classes that Srila Janardhan Maharaj is live streaming here from our Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram Facebook page. And I'd like to invite all of you to get in the habit of getting interactive with me here on the Facebook, okay? So be prepared that next Monday, it'll be me here again in service. So grateful that Srila Janardhan Maharaj invited me to speak, first time in my whole life to be speaking on this platform, so I feel very, very lucky. It was like the best gift ever when he asked. And I may ask you to write comments, to write things, and to share your memories, to share your stories, to share your favorite quotes. So if you watch this replay, or if you come back to this later, or if you feel inspired, now that I said this again, I'd love to invite you to please share some memory, some quote, something that you can turn to every day to help get your mind on track. Feel free to share in the comments section, or feel free to share maybe 1 or 2 Pranam Mantras that you can commit to practicing and reciting on the daily, and let us know how it goes. I'm going to keep checking this comment thread throughout the week and interacting with all of you, so you're welcome to ask any questions, you're welcome to post your quotes, and we'll be in touch. And that is, I would say, the homework. And this idea of connecting with each other through this medium. This is how we can have sadhu sangha. So please ask questions, please share your memories, share your quotes, share in the comment. Your voice also matters, your experience also matters. It's important, and it's so nice to share it with one another, because then we feel more family, we feel more connection, and we don't feel so alone. This world can feel so lonely, and I know what that's like. And I just want to remind all of you that you're not alone. You have friends, you have people you can reach out to, and this comment thread is a great place to ask questions and to ask for support. And if I can't answer it myself, I'm sure we can get your question to Srila Janardhan Maharaj or to any other devotees who may have an answer. You may find that some friends here also give their heart and share something with you here. So please use it properly and enjoy those links. Please keep reading the quotes. And if you'd like to, share your favorite quote in the comment section. And we may revisit some of these again next week. And last but not least, if there is a topic that you would like me to speak on or to prepare to speak on, comment below, because I want to know what you guys want help with, what you want to hear, what you need support with in your spiritual life. And I'm here to be in service. So this is here so that I can serve, right? And so that we can serve. We have this beautiful ashram here, and this ashram is meant to be in service and in the mood of Audarya, of giving Krishna Katha. And we're all a little team here, so we'll come together to help answer your questions and help you to feel that connection. Again, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you all so much for joining and participating. Next week we will again start at 7:30 p.m. sharp. And next week we will most likely be in the temple room, and we'll do a little kirtan before or after. Okay. Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardhan Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Sapadikara Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai, Saparshad Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Saparshad Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai, Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Nitai Gaud Premanande Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare